You know, when I was walking to the theater to see Shang-Chi, I saw a guy with like a necklace, and he had his car keys on his necklace. I respect that guy. Let's talk about it. Alright folks, so Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is the MCU's next project. I love the MCU. Presumably, you love the MCU. What did I like? What did I not? I don't know. You're about to find out. Stay tuned. Folks, the first thing is that there's obviously great action. That should really be a surprise to no one, considering pretty much every MCU film has great action. But this one in particular incorporates martial arts, a different kind of action that we're not really prone to in this universe. And it is great. I do have a minor complaint here that I want to bring up that I think some people might disagree with, but there were times throughout the film, multiple times, or I probably wouldn't bring this up, where punches, kicks, whatever, a variety of moves in fights, just didn't really feel the impact I think they were trying to go for. And that definitely took me out of the film a bit, unfortunately. Folks, there is so much exposition within this film. Way more than most other films you'll see. And they don't even do something inventive, particularly to hide it each time it comes up. I get it. You're introducing a new universe. I'm not saying you don't have it at all. But maybe find more clever ways to introduce it, or maybe just don't have this many, because there was a lot. It was noticeable. Folks, I will say, and I do actually plan, because of this character, to do MCU best villains, all the villains of the MCU ranked, because Wenwu is an amazing villain. He is incredibly intimidating in every scene he's on. You just feel how badass this guy is, and his relationship to the main character as well. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I will say that the second act really kills the pacing of the movie. It's certainly slow. They revive it for the third act, I'd say. I've seen some complaints about the third act. I thought it was fine. You know, it's good fun. And it's, you know, it was pretty creative compared to your typical maybe MCU third act. But the second act kills the pacing. It slows down quite a bit. First act is pretty great. It's lively. It's fun. Second act really slows it down, brings it to a halt. And then the third act brings it back up again. It's not horrible. The second act is fine. It's just not great. And then many have mentioned this here, but the jokes are great. It's one of the funnier MCU outings for sure. Does it top Guardians? Does it top the Spider-Man movies? No, not in my opinion, but it's still great. I will also say that this is definitely a more standalone MCU entry, in the sense that aside from a few references, jokes, whatever, which there are quite a few, but you know, other than that, pretty basic, you know, Marvel movie that you wouldn't, that doesn't have any tie-ins. It feels almost like its own thing, like you could see it anywhere else without those references. One of the more fascinating parts of the film, to me at least, that I wish maybe even they had gone a little more in, or at least that they hadn't closed the door on it so that it could be explored in further films, is Shang-Chi's morality, and how he's not necessarily a good guy. You know, we're used to good guys having the powers, being our heroes in these films. He doesn't really start out as one. He wants to kill people multiple times throughout this film. And I thought that was a very fascinating part to explore. Maybe even actually have him kill someone and reckon with that later on. But they sort of close that off. I guess his redemption is when, you know, spoiler, at the end when he doesn't kill his dad, and that's sort of the thing where they're like, oh, look, he's changed. I wish they had kept it, or maybe dived more into it for the sake of the story. And then this is the first new character we're seeing being inducted into this Avengers, this established team that we already know. And that end credit scene where you're just with Wong, Captain Marvel, and the Hulk after Endgame, and they're all just communicating, and you can really feel like Shang-Chi is now a part of this. We're reliving it all over again. I wasn't old enough for Phase 1 to see the team be assembled. I'm seeing it now, and it's awesome. I'm very excited to see where they go with this MCU property in particular, because Shang-Chi, of course, only picks up the rings at the end of the film, so I'm very excited to see what kind of cool stuff he does with those. But also just the universe they've created here, they've crafted. It's fascinating. Folks, the last time I watched the MCU, rewatched it all, was just before WandaVision this year. And I think I was on an MCU kick. I think I was rating things maybe a little too high, admittedly. And I'm not very confident in where each film fits in the ranking, so it definitely will change. But as of right now, if you want to see where Shang-Chi fits into the ranking, there's a link in the description to it's a Google Doc where each film lies, where each season of television lies. And Shang-Chi is going to get an A from me for now, because it does very little wrong. It is a super enjoyable, fun film that manages to do so much new, so much clever. Is it the best entry in the MCU? No. Is it top tier? Not for me even. I would go so far as to say, of all the typical MCU things, it's not the best in any of them. In action, no. In comedy, no. In story, no. In world building, no. But it is still a perfectly solid, fun ride, and it shouldn't get docked for that. So Shang-Chi is easily an A, and I very much enjoyed it. Alright folks, let me know what you thought of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. If you have any theories about who that beacon is going to within the rings at the end of the film, let me know. I'm all ears, folks. I've been EPC Reviews. You've been amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.